Walk one, shorty, I'm about money, I'm with a single. Slide on me and bring that down, and I'ma bring the...
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Levels with Leela, and we are back with another video. Today, we are going to talk about emotional intelligence. I got a DM about covering the topic and how that is integrated within our community, as well as they had also asked how we can kind of open that line of communication between our younger individuals and the older individuals. And so I kind of wanted to talk about it just because I feel like I haven't had this conversation, or I haven't had much conversation about this topic. And so I thought it would be a good idea to kind of have that conversation with y'all. First, I want to start off with identifying what emotional intelligence is. I'm going to go ahead and put it right here for you guys to read the definition, but the way I interpret that is emotional intelligence is being self-aware of your own emotions and feelings, being able to manage and controlling those feelings and emotions, and recognizing how that impacts other people around you and vice versa. So being able to recognize others' emotions and feelings and how that impacts you as well. With that said, I don't think that emotional intelligence within the Polynesian community, and specifically the Samoan community, just because this is what I have observed and seen within my own community, is that there is little to none emotional intelligence. And going back to mental health and how we weren't able to talk about our feelings and our emotions, and we had to suppress a lot of our feelings, I think that plays a big part in being able to recognize and controlling your own emotions, and vice versa, and recognizing others. Going back to when we're kids, right? We identify emotions with facial expressions, right? And so, sad is like a frowny face, angry is kind of like eyebrows down, and then happy is correlated to a smile, right? So, because within our community we have not been able to express that, I think that has played a huge role in why people in our community don't know what emotional intelligence is. And I think that's why a lot of us revert to aggression, physical aggression too. I mean, you see it in a lot of different families. I see it with those who have families, and how a lot of our people are doing the same things that their parents did to them. Like, for example, you know, beating your kid. There's a difference between discipline and beating your child. You don't have to leave a bruise on your child to discipline someone, or leave marks on someone to discipline your child. But that's what we see more often. And that's because that's what our parents did to us, and that's what their parents did to them. And, it goes down the line. When we talk about emotional intelligence, I think it has everything to do with being aware of the emotions and feelings that we're feeling. And because we aren't able to even communicate that and articulate that, I don't think that we are very good at it. We already aren't able to identify these different emotions that we're feeling, because even the basic ones that we have felt, our voices were taken away. So we couldn't express it. We couldn't communicate how we felt. We couldn't communicate our needs. And I think all of those pieces play a key part in knowing what emotional intelligence is and having that. And it takes practice. I think I started to become more in tune with my emotions, I think, in college. I had a lot of time by myself, and I constantly self reflect. Even to this day, every single day, I'm constantly reflecting in my head on, you know, how I can be better, what I did to make somebody feel a way, and how I said something. And, I think that I overanalyze every emotion or every interaction that I have with people, and just thinking on how, like, maybe how did that affect them and how did they interpret that. I think I'm a very, very mindful person, and it's because at the end of the day, I never want to hurt anyone. I don't want to make anyone feel sad. I don't want anybody to be mad. I just want people to be happy, and I want people to feel seen and feel heard. Obviously easier said than done, and I'm not perfect either. I say that because of the knowledge that I was able to have going to college, and my work experience. So I have a bachelor's in psychology, and then For work experience, I have worked with foster kids. I've worked with adults with mental health and mental illness. I've worked with adults with developmental disabilities, and I work with a lot of like the elder population, the at-risk population. And so being a social worker, you have to be mindful of the things that you're saying. You have to be mindful of your approach. You have to be mindful on how, me saying something, somebody else could take it the wrong way, because the things that we say matter on how other people feel. And so I don't know their background. I don't know the way they were raised. I don't know their traumas. And so a lot of the things that we say, it could be triggering. And so I think that I'm always cognizant on what I'm saying and how I'm saying it, because there's so many different ways to get one message across. And it's really your job to ensure that when you are spreading a message or communicating with somebody, it's your job to ensure that they're understanding. I think emotional intelligence, it's something that you practice. I don't think that it's something that we just kind of have within us. We all know those type of people who, when you say something to them, they always feel like it's an attack towards them. And that could just be because whatever you had said was triggering in how someone else used to talk to them, or in how that reminded them of this one incident, or whatever it may be. I think those key elements are: one, being able to identify the emotions, okay, and acknowledging them, communicating that. And I think that's the most difficult part for us. I think you have to be able to identify emotions in general. So what does jealousy look like? What does it feel like? What does anger look like, and what does that feel like? What does happiness feel like, and what does that look like? The feeling of betrayal look like, and what does that feel? And how does that make you feel? Identifying the emotions first, I think, is key, because if you're not able to identify the emotions, you won't be able to recognize it either, at least on a deeper level. I mean, we all can kind of get the basic understanding of like, oh, what does anger and sadness and happiness look like? But on a deeper level, like jealousy, betrayal, envy, overwhelmed, anxious, nervous, being able to identify the emotions and then communicating those emotions, because communicating is the form to make sure that we can have this relationship and ensure that we both feel respected. So not only communicating, but also listening to understand and not to respond. Listen, I always say, feelings and emotions are always valid. Your reactions to things aren't. For example, it's if someone hits me and I hit them back. I mean, we understand why you would hit them back, but it doesn't make it right that you did hit them back. Yeah, you can be angry that they hit them or that they hit you. It makes sense. But hitting them back just does nothing. It solves nothing besides getting your leg back. And for a lot of people, that might feel good, but at the end of the day, two wrongs don't make it right. I think the second part of that is, how can we open that line of communication between our young individuals and the older individuals, and how we can work together to be better and move forward. I think it starts with just being able to identify the emotions and teaching our young ones the different kinds of emotions and what a healthy response is. I just watched this video today of this mom was doing a prank on her son, and the kid is maybe 5 years old, maybe. And what she did was she served him food, but she did it angrily. Like, she was like throwing his plate, she slammed his bowl, slammed the apple down, and his reaction was more like, "Whoa, I love you. Are you okay? Do you want a hug?" And he just like was like, "Come here, give me a hug. You need a hug." And he just kept saying like, "It's okay. Just come down, just breathe. It's okay." And he has no idea, right? Innocent. But he has no idea what's going on. He can identify that she's angry. I know it was a prank, but he can identify that his mom was angry because she was slamming the bowl, she was slamming the apple, she threw the plate, and he didn't react in a negative way. Instead, he Instead, he just came from a place of love and was like, hey, I love you. I think you just need a hug. And do we need to do some deep breathing? And as a 5-year-old, like, you don't ever see those kinds of things. I think, like, as adults, we are still working on having that kind of reaction versus coming at them like, what's wrong with you? Why are you throwing things? And even that tone of voice is already kind of triggering in itself. Being able to, okay, how can I handle this? How can I not respond negatively? And how can I not add fuel to the fire? And how can I be proactive in the situation? I think it's going to have to start from young. We're going to have to teach our young ones those different kinds of emotions that we didn't really get taught, and allowing our kids to know that, hey, it's okay to be mad. When we were growing up, it wasn't okay to be mad. It wasn't okay to be sad. You're fine. You're okay. Get up. I think allowing the kid to feel how he feels and being able to be self-sufficient in managing those emotions. As they get older, they just have the tools, and they're better equipped with how they tackle the more difficult feelings and emotions as they come just with life. I feel like that's a way we can, I guess, kind of help. I want to say in today's time, it's a little bit more easier to have those conversations with older people. And I think because times have changed, and a lot of people are realizing that a lot of the ways that they were taught weren't okay. And so many of them are deciding to kind of break those generational curses. I think we start all the way back to the basics. I think we just start with being able to identify the feelings that we have, and then figuring out how we can manage those emotions without them hurting others or yourself. Because now we have more knowledge and we have more information, we can share that with each other. From my perspective, I think that's a way for us to at least start just going back to the basics. Then we can have the conversation in the more challenging areas to kind of get through. Going back to the basics, identifying those emotions, being able to actually feel and acknowledge that they are there, and then being able to communicate that to others, and then being able to kind of release it. So how do you guys feel on emotional intelligence, what that is, what it looks like, and how we can bring our younger and older individuals together to move forward and to grow? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you like this video, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you guys want to hear about. Let me know what you guys want to talk about, what different subjects and topics that you guys may have questions about and kind of want me to elaborate on or give my intake on it. Let me know. I definitely want to do other videos in like an interview style, so having someone else, and we kind of go back and forth on how we feel about the different topics and subjects and asking questions and things like that. So stay tuned for those kinds of videos coming here soon. Thank you for listening and watching, and we'll be back with another video. Love y'all.
Walk one, steady. Pushing for my purpose, want that guala, guala. No mercy for them.